Hey gang, today I want to talk about mini cut bridges. What is a mini cut bridge? A mini cut bridge is a term that we coined utilizing mini cuts as a bridge from a point to where we are now to where we are going. And before I start talking about what a mini cut bridge is and what the purpose of them are, the first thing we need to talk about is when is it appropriate to run a mini cut, whether it's a mini cut bridge, a full-on mini cut, what have you. And the worst time that you can even think about doing any sort of a cut is under the following conditions. Number one, you're not even recovered from your competition prep. If all you're thinking about is food and you can't stop eating, it doesn't really matter what you feel about your body. Your physiology is not recovered yet. And the last thing that you want to do is run yourself a mini cut and essentially setting yourself up for failure because you're not going to be able to adhere to it. Your body's not going to let you adhere to it. Your body is telling you to eat. And if you're in any phase of your recovery from your competition prep, you don't want to even think about mini cuts. Likewise, if you are just now recovered from your competition, same thing applies here. You're just now getting back to normal. Your physiology is now back to normal. Your body is now saying, okay, now we can start putting muscle back on from this training. In summary there, you never want to run a mini cut of any sort when you are actively in recovery from your competition prep, or you have just recently recovered and are now at a point to where you can start putting muscle back on. And if I was to give you a time frame, you want to wait probably 2 to 3 months at a minimum after you're fully recovered from your competition prep and stepping on the bodybuilding stage before you even consider doing a mini cut. Okay, when else should you not run a mini cut? If at any point you are doing more hours of cardio than you are doing hours of weight training, it is not time to do a mini cut. The only exception would be with all of those hours of cardio and all of those hours of training, you are consuming essentially 4,000 to 5,000 calories a day. Under that exception, you can probably run a mini cut, but that is not very many people. So if you're doing a lot of cardio, a mini cut bridge, unless you're on really high calories, is in all likelihood going to be an unsuccessful attempt. The final consideration on when not to run a mini cut bridge is essentially when you're already lean. A mini cut bridge is not a prep positioning diet. If you want to learn about the prep positioning diet and how you can arrange your body weight periodization in a 2 or 3 year off season, check out our courses at 3DMJ Vault. My good friend Alberto Nunez has an entire course on how to set up a prep positioning diet. And myself, I cover a pro bodybuilder's 2 year off season using prep positioning diet and positioning strategies that are outlined in Alberto's course. And that course is free. So again, if you're already lean, you're at a point to where you kind of need to either commit and possibly prep and get on stage, or go for that weight class that you have never done before in powerlifting. Outside of those conditions, now you want to kind of think, I need to grow. My body's not in a state of being able to maximally put on muscle. Those are probably the most important parts of a mini cut bridge, is when to and when not to do it. That brings us to the purpose of a mini cut. And a mini cut or a mini cut bridge can serve many purposes, some of which are not even aesthetic. Mini cut bridges can be used to stimulate the appetite in a purposeful growth period. If you're one of those that has to eat 5,000 calories a day in order to put on weight, or in some cases just to maintain your weight, you can run a mini cut bridge to kind of stimulate the appetite. And typically, the easiest way to do this is just kind of prepare your food a little bit on the bland side and cut your food volume down such that you're never full, and lastly, make yourself kind of hungry in between meals to where you're actually looking forward to your meals. So you can see in this particular case, you're not even having to quantify any calories at all. You're just cutting down food volume, making your food a little bit bland so that you kind of don't want to eat food, and then just making sure that you're hungry between meals and not really full. Make that quick, 2 weeks, a month max. And then when you finish your mini cut bridge, now start seasoning your food, putting together sweet and savory, using cheeses in order to stimulate the appetite and get your body weight going beyond where you may have been stuck before. Mini cut bridges can be a speed bump from where we are now to where we want to go. If we're in a purposeful growth phase and we're trying to make it to 200 pounds from 170, and in the first month, we're already at 189, we can simply slow down our trip from 170 on the way to 200. Again, make it quick, make it deliberate. If you're using the strategies I said before, just simply make your food a little bit bland, be a little bit hungry between meals, walk away from every meal wanting more food, make that last for 2 to 4 weeks, and then get back to your regular strategy for purposeful growth. If you're using calories, that's easy enough as well. You just basically go with an aggressive cut. 3,500 calories is a pound of body weight. Go down 3,500 calories a week. 3,500 calories divided by 7 days in a week, go down 500 calories, make it quick and aggressive, and then get back out and start growing again. You don't even really need to have a goal weight in mind when you're doing a mini cut. In fact, mini cut bridges serve a purpose that a lot of times has nothing to do with body weight. We're just, in the last example, trying to slow down our trip from 170 to 200. And in the prior example, we're just trying to stimulate the appetite so that we can get more food in on our way up to a PR level of body weight. So mini cut bridges should oftentimes be planned ahead of time as far as the length of the cut and how you're going to execute the cut, and really don't have any goal in mind. A mini cut bridge that is executed in the ways that I just talked about is going to be effective. You're going to drop some weight. And how much is really unimportant. We've talked about when not to run a mini cut bridge. We've talked about when is a good time to run a mini cut bridge. Now, let's just simply talk about the difference between a mini cut bridge and prep positioning. Prep positioning should be a purposeful diet that is well planned with the purpose of getting you from very, very high body fat, basically unreachable, to competition conditioning unless you have 50 weeks available to you. It's simply to get you from quote unquote fat to reasonably lean, aka a good point to actually start a prep. That should probably have a goal in mind. In fact, in our prep positioning course, we talk about going from fat or your heaviest down to about 10 to 12% above your stage weight. And that should be planned probably well in advance of your competition, 8 months, maybe even a year, to where you're just basically spending about 2 to 4 months getting from quite heavy to respectably lean. But then immediately after prep positioning, you want to give yourself a break and you want to give yourself a chance to recharge, maybe attack some weak body parts, essentially eat at maintenance before you start prep. As you can tell, that is dramatically different in length, in purpose, and in planning in timeout from your next competition. Very different than a mini cut. And you don't want to mix and match those at will according to your schedule. Don't consider your prep positioning diet a mini cut bridge just because you have a vacation coming up. You want to make sure that you plan your prep positioning diet inside of a year from your competition. And the purpose of that is none of the purposes that I talked about before. Its specific purpose is to get you from very heavy, way above stage weight, down to 10 to 12% above stage weight, where you can ride comfortably for a little bit. Thank you, gang. I hope you gained something from that. Mini cut bridges, the differences between mini cut bridges and prepositioning, and you can utilize that in your off season.